Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had a really great winter break or are excited to get back into a schedule and routine. I know I'm really excited to see all of you and get back to doing math together. This first unit we do is only 3 learning targets long. It's not very long at all, so it shouldn't take you too much time. And it's going to talk about something called absolute value. So I'm going to demonstrate absolute value using this picture of a house. So pretend this is your house. And these arrows are indicating, look, if I'm standing right here, that's 14 miles, and if I'm standing here, that's 14 miles. But let's say that I'm on the right side here, and I'm going to go 14 miles towards my house. Like I'm walking, maybe my school is over here or something. I'm walking towards the house. This arrow then would be kind of like 14 miles away from the house. Now, if I just said the number 14, you wouldn't necessarily know which direction I meant. You know, what if I even said it was 14 miles here, right? It was 14 miles here, right? Me saying 14 doesn't give me a direction. It just says I'm 14. So at any place along here, I could be 14 away. The minute then I put a minus sign in front of it, if I put like a minus 14 here and a minus 14 there, now I'm designated that I'm maybe going away from the home. I'm going away from the house by 14. I'm going towards the house if it's positive. So the concept of this is something called absolute value, saying that even if I'm going away or towards or whatever, I'm still 14 units away from something, okay? So that's kind of what absolute value is saying. In another way, if you turn your page in your notes, we can look at it through a number line. So absolute value is in that way the distance between a number and 0 on the number line. So here's my number 0 right here. Okay, here's what this is saying. This is saying, look, I've got this section of the number line that is 5 units away, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've also got this section that is 5 units away. Even though this number is on -5 right here, I'm still 5 units total away from 0. I'm not -5 away. When I say that I'm 20 minutes away from the house, I don't say I'm -20 minutes away. I said that I'm 20 minutes away. We don't describe numbers very often using negatives. We describe it using positives. So absolute value is describing the distance between 0 and whatever number you're looking at. Since distance is always positive, the absolute value of a number then is always positive. And we've seen this before, this little symbol here. The absolute value looks like this, these 2 little bars, but with a number in the middle. So the distance between -5 and 0 is 5 units, so is the distance between 0 and 5, and so then we would write absolute value of -5 equals 5, and so the absolute value of 5 equals 5. Okay. Another way to think about this too is if that description is just a little bit too much for you to think about, you can always just keep in mind that absolute value always just means that the number is positive. The number is always positive, and you can underline that or highlight that up here in this description. The number is always going to be positive. So let's take a look at these 2 examples I have on the number line here. So the first question says, what is the value of A? So A is right here. That value is 10, 11, it's 12. So the value is 12. How far from A is 0? That's the absolute value. Well, A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So its absolute value is also 12. Okay. The second one is a little bit different. What is the value of A? The value of A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's -6 is my value because that's where it falls. It's on the negative side. So the value is -6, but the absolute value is +6 because it's 6 units away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 units away. Okay. So couple other examples. Example 1, whether you take 2 steps forward +2 or 2 steps backwards -2, you only took 2 steps from your original location, which was 0. So the absolute value of your total movement is 2, whether we write -2 or 2. It's still an absolute value of 2. That's the first example there. The second example is a corn seed grew roots 1 feet deep below ground level. So here's the ground level, it's this arrow right here. Sorry, this line right here. And a stub that extended 4 feet above the ground level. So this is the corn, these are the branches, and this is under the ground. So we've got this 1 feet of space where the roots are under the ground and 4 feet of corn above the ground. So 4 feet above the ground would just be written as the number 4. 1 feet below the ground would be written as -1 to show that space. But since distance is always positive, we want to add the absolute value of the two numbers to get the total distance, right? The absolute value of -1 is 1. The absolute value of 4 is 4. So the total height of this corn plant is 4 plus 1 to give you that 5 feet that the corn takes up over above ground and underground. And we write this using these little bars. We put the number in the bars and then simplify it to what the value actually is. Let's do some practice with these values. Okay, now these seem like a lot, but they don't take very long. So when I look at this without a number line, I think, okay, I'm 5 units away from 0, so 5 units away from 0 is 5. Number 2, I'm -13 of a value, but if on a number line, and I'll only use this description once because I know there's an easier way, but when I think of 0 here and -13 right here, the distance between the two of these is just 13. So the absolute value of -13 is 13. Okay, so we basically are taking what's inside the bars and we're making it positive. Then 2 is already positive, so it says 2. The absolute value of -11 is just 11. Absolute value of 7 is just 7. Absolute value of -4 becomes +4. Okay, so those are pretty straightforward. Number 7 has something different on it, and this is something we did, I think we did in this unit 1. I believe we did. So here, this is one that's a little bit different. In this one, you put your hand like over the negative, ignore the negative at the beginning. How would you simplify the absolute value of 12? Well, that would just become 12. So that's simplified to just 12. Then you bring the negative down in front. So the negative absolute value of 12 is -12. Because the negative's on the outside, it's not on the inside. Same thing for number 8. The absolute value of 5 is just 5. That goes away. We just simplified that and then put the negative in front of it. Absolute value of 1 is just 1. Absolute value of -14 is +14. Similarly, this gets simplified to an 8. Bring the negative in front and we get -8. Here, what's the absolute value of -13? It's 13. So that goes away. And then I put the negative in front to get -13. Now this one is really tricky because I know a lot of you see this and you think, wait, I see 2 negatives, doesn't that make a positive? It doesn't in this case because you have to do the absolute value of -13 first, which turns it into a +13. Then a negative and a positive make a negative, okay? This is going to trip you up. This learning target is keeping track of signs. These next few are even trickier, okay? And these deal with order of operations. So they kind of take us back to when we did that in Unit 1. So number 13, simplify each of them. The absolute value of 9 is 9. I don't know why my pen stopped working. Okay, 9. And then absolute value of 4 is 4. So that's going to give me 3. Oh, wait, nope. 9 minus 4 is definitely not 3. It is 5. Okay, cool. 14, absolute value of 14 plus absolute value of 3, that simplifies to 14 plus 3, and that gives me 17. Number 15 is a little harder. Number 15, I'm going to simplify the absolute value of 10 to give me 10, and again, sometimes it helps to cross stuff off once you've simplified it. Bring that minus sign down. The absolute value of -6 is +6, and then 10 minus 6 is 4. Number 16, the absolute value of -11 is 11. The absolute value of -3 is +3. And so then I get answer of 14. The absolute value of -15 just becomes +15. Bring down that minus sign, and then the absolute value of 7 just stays 7. And so that's going to give me an answer of 8. If you want to pause right now and try the next few on your own, you're always welcome to, and then unpause to see if you're correct. That's always sometimes a strategy if you feel like you're wanting to experiment and see if you're getting it on your own. I always encourage that. Here, absolute value of 9 is 9, absolute value of 2 is 2, 9 minus 2 is 7. Now, these are bigger numbers, but that doesn't mean that it's any more challenging. It just means that you probably have to use your calculator. So this one, the absolute value of 31 is just 31. This is a minus sign, bring that down. The absolute value of -51 is just 51. And then plus 82. 31 minus 51 is -20. Remember, you always do left to right first with order of operations, and then negative 20 plus 82 equals 62. So my answer to number 19 is 62. So you want to take it one step at a time. In the case of number 20, the absolute value kind of acts like parentheses in some ways. You have to simplify what's inside before you take the absolute value of it. So be careful here. Don't just say this is 7 plus 14. It's not. I know you're thinking that because it's absolute value, let's make that 7 positive. That's not how that works. What you have to do first is reduce what's inside. Negative 7 plus 14 gives you positive 7, and then that stays in the absolute value. Then I would bring down the rest of this and then do the 2 plus 9 to give me 7. I would rewrite my problem so it looks like this. Now the absolute value of 7 is 7, absolute value of 8 is 8, and then bring down the minus, absolute value of 7 is 7. Oh, sorry, 2 plus 9 is not 7, it's 11. Wow, guys. There we go. 7 plus 8 is 15. And 15 minus 11 is going to give me a 4. Okay. These last two are tricky. And I'm going to give you guys a hint that I would pay attention to this part because there may be a test question that's similar to something like this. So hopefully that might be a little motivation to pay close attention here. Bring down the 3 and treat the absolute value like parentheses. Negative 5 plus 10 gives me a positive 5, and then put the absolute value back around it. The absolute value of 5 is just 5. Now use PEMDAS here. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. So this is all order of operations, like from the very, very first unit we did. Number 21, simplify what's inside the absolute value. Negative 10 plus 2 gives me negative 8. Inside the absolute value. The absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. And then negative 16 plus 8 is going to be negative 8. Okay. This should be a relatively simple lesson. Hopefully you've had this before and know how to use absolute value. The practice should not take you very long, and you might be able to actually get this done today and get started on the next learning target today. So good luck, and always ask for help if you need it.